Welcome and thanks for joining. My name is Erik Svan. I'm with you from HUGSI, Sweden. And it's now my favorite time of year. It's HUGSI launch season. And this is where we share all the new insights and trends captured from cities across the globe. And I'm super happy that you decided to be part of this. Thanks for joining. And if you're watching this live event, if you have any questions during my presentation, I think it's on your right-hand side. You have the question box, and we will try to answer you as fast as we can, or we come back to you later. If you're watching this recorded on YouTube, then you know down below you have the comment section. Please add any comment or question, and we try to answer you as well. Again, welcome. So, HUGSI. The HUGSI Urban Green Space Index. Some of you may know it, some of you may be new to it. It has been around since 2019, and we are supporting the greening ambition of global cities. And HUGSI.Green is a tool that helps cities to quantify their current greenness thanks to our yearly updates. That means that we can also track the development over time. And due to the fact that we analyze cities using the same methodology with the same global data sets, it's also very easy to find relevant benchmark cities. So you can compare your data with relevant benchmarks. And that's why HUGSI.Green is like a fitness app for urban green space. Great, good start. And these are the KPIs of HUGSI, the 6 green KPIs. And every year we survey the cities on their individual Prime Day to assess these KPIs. And you can see the percentage of urban green space. We split that in parts, looking at the tree canopy cover and the grass cover percentage of the urban parts of the city. We're also splitting that up based on the population data of the city, looking at the urban green space per capita. The distribution of urban green space, very important KPI, looking at how well and evenly distributed the green is throughout the city. And thanks to the satellite data with the multispectral data, we're using the NDVI index to calculate the average health of vegetation in the urban parts of cities. So I think those are the really strong KPIs that has been with us since the start. And this is what I will share with you today. So now it's finally time to unveil the new updated index and data for this year. The data I'm about to present is sampled during 2021. And we need the full year to analyze the cities on their individual prime days. And that's to capture them when they are as green as possible. And that's, of course, differs between Scandinavia, where we are right now, down to Australia and across Asia and everywhere. So let's go. Let's do this. And the HUGSI in numbers for this year, you can see we have this year 255 cities part of the index. And that's really great. 44% more compared to last year. And we are covering 600 million people in 60 countries with a total area of 100,000 square kilometers. So that's really, really huge. And we're super happy that so many new cities are starting to use HUGSI.Green as a tool to track the greening of their city. And as I will get back to later, many of the new cities, they come from the Groene Stad Challenge in the Netherlands. And for the first time, these cities are also part of the index and the rankings, as you will notice, I'm sure, in a while. So these are HUGSI in sort of statistics around it for this year. And this year, we are introducing a big change to our index. As the benchmarking of cities is becoming more important, it's also relevant for us to find new ways for you to be able to better compare yourself with similar cities with similar conditions. And that's why we introduce these two new indexes within the index. We are dividing cities into climate zones and population density categories. And with the climate zones, we're looking at the latitude, the position of the city, and of course that really influences and affects how green the city can be based on where it's located in the world. Another thing that is really affecting the chances of greening is the population density. If you have a very dense city, it's of course harder to get the room and space for adding green, because you also need to support housing and transportation and commercial buildings and everything. And we found that both of these factors really influence the greenness of the cities. So looking at this, we are still of course supporting the global and regional views of the data, and that's also a very important perspective. And as you can see, this year we have an even greater emphasis on cities in Europe. So of course that skews the global KPIs a bit, but still, for if you live in Latin America, you can benchmark to other cities in Latin America and all of that. Of course, it's also relevant to track the global trends, and we will look in more on that later. The new index now here with the climate zones, we are covering the north temperature zone above the equator, the torrid zone around the equator, and then the south temperature zone below the equator. So that's sort of how it's divided in this way. And of course, you can also see that the north temperature zone is where we have an emphasis of cities as well. The majority of the cities are there, 83%. And of course, it spans from North America over to Europe, over to China, Japan, northern India, and such. So of course, there's many cities there. But of course, it's relevant, as you will notice later, that dividing these cities makes sense. The third way to really look at the data is the population density categories. And here we're looking at the density within the city, population divided by the area. And here we have found at least 4 distinct classes, and then we have the fifth one, the very low, consisting of only 5 cities, 2% of all the cities. But for the others, they are fairly good distribution. So that will be really interesting looking into this, and we'll do that in a while. Great, so that's the foundation of the index of this year. We will still, of course, answer the classic questions. How green are cities? And do they get greener? Of course, we will also look into changes since last year. And now we're growing old with HUGSI. We can actually look back 6 years this year and what has happened since then. Okay, let's go. How green are cities, really? Well, not so much action. Let's look at this. Most of the regions are fairly stable. Europe, we can see a really big increase. Of course, that's because we have onboarded lots of very green cities in the Netherlands, going up from 47% last year up to 51%. So that's a huge increase. We can also see North America growing 1% more this year, up to 37%. And it relates to a lot of different happenings, but we're also welcoming Bexley, Ohio, as one of the new cities in the US. So really happy to have you onboarded. And this is your first time in the index. Look into your ranking. Africa, I will also notice and mention a bit about. They are staying on their 34%. They were really struggling to get up there last year, and now they are really preserved that stage. So that's really good and well done from Africa. And looking into then the global benchmark of this year, 45%. That's the average green percentage of all the cities in the index. So that's something you can benchmark towards, but then of course you can look into the respective region you're in. So that's also a good way to consume this. With this percentage here, we could say we have an increase, but that's of course because we are adding cities that are greener than the sum of cities before. But if we look at the individual cities, what is happening from one year to the other in the cities? And through the satellite technology, we can actually monitor and detect all the different changes of land use. And we try to deem them either as positive or negative from a vegetation perspective. So are cities getting greener? And also this year, I'm sadly have to say not really. But of course, cities are developing a lot, lots of changes, both on the positive side and negative side. And also this year, the lever leans towards the negative side. And looking at the numbers, if we sum up all the changes, we can see a decline in urban green space for the cities of 90 million square meters. So that's a huge amount if you just lay it out there. But we should also remember that the total area of the cities is 100,000 square kilometers. So that's, of course, super much. So looking at the relative change provides only minus 0.009%. So that's a fairly small number like that. So divided by square meter, divided by population, it's kind of a minor decline, but summed up, it's a huge area. So those are some of the changes we can see. Another change is related to the health and vitality. And that's a more positive story, I would say, that overall, most of the regions have preserved their vitality, and some have actually increased. So the global average this year is 0.7. And this is on the NDVI scale, ranging from -1 to +1. So this indicates vegetation of really high vitality and good health. So that's a happy message, I would say. The change, we could actually break down into the different regions. And we have the negative changes on this side and the positive changes over here. So the first thing is to acknowledge that all regions have, of course, positive change. And most of the cities have positive change. But all are also having negative change. Very few cities where we can detect no change. So, and that's of course natural. Cities evolve and develop, and that's how it should be. And sometimes you take away some vegetation somewhere, and you also add more vegetation somewhere. And that's what we are able to actually share and present in this. As we said, the sum and the net of this is negative. We can still see that Central East Asia, that equals China, has the highest amplitude of change. They are doing most change compared to the other regions. But what we can say with that is that we still see that Central East Asia and China have a pretty good city planning policy. So the cities, even if they are developed, they are fairly green, which is really good. So this is how the different changes distribute between the regions. And I think that's relevant. And we will actually return to this change perspective a bit more further into this presentation. Then looking back 6 years from now, in 2019, we launched HUGSI with 98 cities. For that first launch, we actually looked 3 years back in time. So already then we captured data since 2016. So that means for many of the cities we have followed for many years now. And that can bring really interesting insights. And this is what we can detect when it comes to the total green areas in these cities and convert it into billion square meters. So 2016, for these 98 cities, we detected 28.9 billion square meters, and this measurement from last year was 30.5. So this means that over the 6 years, it has increased with 6%, and that's a lot. And also, if you look at the actual size and area of new green space, is amazing, 1.6 billion square meters. So that's a lot of grass to mow and trees to cut. So a lot of work need to be done there. So that's, I think, a happy message and a really impressive numbers looking at these original 98 cities. So I think those are strong insights. Okay, so let's go through the new data from a climate zone perspective. So this is, will be the first time we actually meet and look into the different climate zones. So let's begin with the biggest one, with most cities, 210 cities, 82% of all cities are part of the north temperature zone. And looking at the numbers, the KPIs here, we have selected specifically for the climate zones. These are high numbers, and well, all of them are above the global average. So in this north temperature zone, we have the really, really green cities. And if we break this down into the achievements, we can see that the green model city of the north temperature zone is Renkum in the Netherlands. So congratulations, that's the highest ranked city of all. In here we can also see Lupik having an amazing 2,104 square meters of green space per capita. That's really big compared to the 340 that is the average for this cohort. So that's pretty amazing. The next climate zone is Torrid Zone, just around the equator. Here we see 34 cities, 13% of all. Here we can see that they struggle a bit more reaching up to the KPIs, the global KPIs. So this is, all of them are way below and under the averages. But that again points out why it's important to really compare apples and apples when you look at the cities, because they have different natural conditions. Looking at the achievers of the cities in this cohort, we can see Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, as the green model city, the highest ranked of them all. Again, looking at the urban green space per capita, Hanoi with 127. I think that's way higher than the average for this group. So that's worthy of pointing out. But we have strong achievements here as well. The south temperature zone, 11 cities, 4% out of all. Again, we can see that also these cities south of the equator doesn't really come up to the global average numbers. So less green on average. Looking at the cities, we can see that there are really high achievers among these cities as well. Our old friend Durban in South Africa was the greenest city of all in the first edition of HUGSI. And of course, looking at their green percentage, 60%. Yeah, way above the global average, way above the regional or the average for this temperature zone. So I think that's really cool to highlight. We can also mention Sydney. This is a beautiful image of Sydney, having really good vitality of their green space. Worth mentioning. So let's move over to the also other new index, the population density categories. And I think this is super exciting. We will see really interesting insights connected to the population density categories. So let's start. We have the smallest cohort of this, only 5 cities, 2%, with a very low population density. These are cities with an average population of around 13,000 people. And as you can see, they are super green. Just in short, super green, way above the global averages, and with whooping 62% of urban green space, lots of urban green per capita. Here we also included the distribution, because that's relevant when we're looking at the density, population density of the cities. Looking at the top achievers here, we have Lupik almost all over the board as the green model city, a fairly small city in the Netherlands, but of course super green, as you can see, super high numbers. And moving into the low population density cities, now we're adding lots of more cities, 65 cities, 25% of all. And here we can see the numbers also really strong, not as strong as the first one, but still very strong numbers. 59% green, 659 square meters per capita, so super strong numbers. Looking here, again, cities from the Netherlands, Renkum in top, and you can see a few others of the cities in the Netherlands. Very green cities, for sure. And looking in then to the medium population density cities, now we are actually going into lots bigger size cities. Average population is around 800,000 people. 75 cities, 29% of all the cities. And you can see San Francisco here is one of these cities. Here we can see that the struggle begins a bit with having green cities. Still, this is around the global average, I would say. 46% green, that's a bit more than the global average. But still we can see that the stress is coming here to this kind of cities. Again, we have the hat trick from the Netherlands, all cities based on the Grønne Stad challenge in here. But very green cities. So of course that they belong here. And some of these cities are also fairly small in compared to the 800,000 in average population. But this kind of index is not really about the population amount, it's the density. So if you have a small area with lots of people, you have high density. So that's the point with this. Looking further into this, we have the next group, high population density cities. So now we're moving up even further. The average population is 3 million, really big cities. We have 53 of them, 21% of all cities. And here we really see that, yeah, they are pretty green, but still they struggle when it comes to urban green space per capita and the distribution. And of course, that's natural. Lots of people that need service, housing, transportation, and other things. So that's natural. I think it's interesting to see the tree canopy cover is kind of big for this kind of city. So probably they are going with the trees here. And that's of course always good to see. Here we see also we're breaking out of the Netherlands bubble here, and we again have Durban, our old friend here, and they are leading in many of these categories. But in the bottom we have Rome, Italy, with extremely high grass cover. And looking at Rome over the last 6 years, they have really improved over these years now, and have really been lucky when it comes to the green space work like that, and done a great job. So congratulations, Rome. The last category now, very high population density cities, 57 cities, 22% of the cities. Here they're really big. Average size 6.5 million. And looking at the total population here, I think that's really interesting. More than 370 million people living in these 57 cities. So more than half of the 600 of the HUGSI index live in these 22% cities. And of course that brings also that the numbers are fairly low compared to the global average. But of course they struggle also with availability like that. So that's why I think that's super interesting and very important to track and follow the cities based on their location and based on their population density, because that's where the struggle is. Looking at the achievers here, we can see Dar es Salaam in Tanzania being the green model city of this cohort, highest ranked city. Another very interesting thing here is Dhaka in Bangladesh with 61% distribution. And comparing that with the 19% average for this group, I think that's really amazing. So greener cities is important. And there's also a lot of talk about nature positive cities. And I really love that. And as you can see in our new feature film, we have a new view dedicated to the change of cities. And there we can really showcase the difference from one year to another in cities on the map and with KPIs, looking at, is the city nature positive or negative? Is the sum or net of all the changes we have detected positive or not? And actually we have a big bunch of cities that manage to have a positive change, a positive net. 21 out of all of the 25 are actually nature positive. And 43 of all cities manage to balance this needle just in the middle. So balancing negative change and positive change. So have a look at the top 10 list of nature positive cities in HUGSI. In top we have Abidjan, and lots of cities here in Europe, Latin America, North America. So big hands up for these cities that manage to actually green their cities in their ambition to change and develop. So that's a really great thing, I would say. Great. To wrap this up, this is the learnings from the 2022 edition of HUGSI. And we have learned that the new global benchmark is 45% when it comes to percentage of urban green space. We talked about the slight decline between 2020 and 2021, but also the big growth for the original 98 cities over the last 6 years. So those are things to bring with you from this event. So that is actually everything for today, folks, and it's time to part. Thank you for watching, and I really want you to reach out to us if you have anything to add or ask for or anything, and you reach us at hello@hugsi.green. That's our email address. So stay safe and goodbye. Thanks for watching.